Hi, welcome to a film on shooting maternity. In this, I'm just going to give you some ideas on lighting and some posing that you can apply quickly to your maternity photography and things really. Kind of maternity is usually programmed in the diary around about 2 to 3 weeks before the subject is due and things, okay? But we're looking at some images that I kind of did a maternity course for photographers a couple of years back. And we kind of set it up from the kind of the classic image going through to a little bit more dramatic image, and then obviously ending up with the kind of the pool image with the flowers and everything else with it and things. Okay, so that's the kind of thing we're going to be looking at quickly as far as the images are concerned. So let's look at the first shot. And again, black kind of skinny tight dress. Photographed against a dark background, so the color palette is really good together. Obviously, if the client had brought in a kind of a browny kind of color, we'd used an old master brown kind of background and so on with it. This lighting though is quite flat, so this is the kind of the general start, the starting off point. So pretty much it's coming in from between the 9 and the 10 o'clock position. So the camera's always at 6, subject's always in the middle of the clock. The background is obviously at the 12 here, and then basically we've got the lighting coming in from the 9 to the 10 o'clock position. The closer the light, remember, to the camera, the flatter the kind of the position. Now, as is, you can see that the bump is almost beginning to merge in with the background, and that's because we're not using a separation light onto the bump, and that's really what we need to actually do to emphasize the separation. You could actually revert to kind of go into a lighter, brighter backdrop or a lighter, brighter dress, but obviously to keep all the kind of mood and the tone together, want to kind of work with that. As far as the hand positions, the two basic ones to get used to is one hand on top, one hand underneath, and then a swapping over the hands. So in this case, we've got the subject's right hand on top of the belly, left hand is underneath the belly, but you could swap that around. The only thing that you're going to see is obviously at times this hand that is on top, or in this case coming from the back of the subject, looks like it's almost just being placed there and it doesn't belong to her because we can't see the sleeve or whatever it would be. So we could change that a little bit if we want to, by bringing that arm around more or turning the body, but where possible we're trying to keep a perfect profile on the bump because that really shows the kind of the beautiful shape and everything else with it. So as far as that basic shot, that's nailed. Now you can see much more drama straight away. It's the same backdrop, in fact. The difference being though now is obviously we've got a contrast of the flesh against the actual black background. Now we're using what is probably my secondary kind of use of the hands. So in other words, we're using her back arm and hand to come around and hide the boobs. And then we've got her close hand to camera position going underneath the bump. Again, a beautiful profile position of both the bump and the actual face as well with it. Now the separation light really pops off the page, yeah, as you can see here. There's a little bit of reflector fill coming in from the right hand side. That's just a big white panel just out of shot, and that will just kind of just touch a little bit of the light in to give detail in the back of the hair as well as actually onto her back and so on with it. But this is an absolutely, you know, kind of nailing image. No matter what, you will kind of get this result. I've also got some black tutus, in fact, and white ones as well, that we actually use to disguise the knicker line. So it's a good kind of accessory to have on hand. You can see now when we bring that light in back towards that 9 o'clock position, so that flatter position again, how instantly it starts to actually light the background as well, because it's spilling onto her. She's quite close, so about 2.5 to 3 feet away from the background itself. The reason we've kind of used this flatter light, the lighting now, as far as the 9 o'clock position is concerned, is because when she turns the head to the classic kind of Rembrandt position, the 45-degree position of the face, we've got some beautiful shadowing coming down the one side of the face, but the 5 planes of the face are brightly lit, i.e. the forehead, the chin, the 2 cheeks and the nose. Those are the 5 planes of the face. And obviously we want to actually have a little kind of Mona Lisa expression in there as well. This client, in fact, is a theatrical client. We photographed her before. So we got some kind of Red Riding Hood kind of capes for her. And we opted for black lingerie and the kind of the red cape. And this is a red rose kind of artificial flower wall we have. And what we've done is actually lit it from the rear. So in other words, we've got a huge amount of light flash pumping through the actual red to give us this almost kind of light coming through the foresty kind of look and things, really. But with her dramatic hair look and things, really, she's a great client to photograph. But we've kept the same kind of techniques. This stage, though, we're using the cape to actually just allow the bump to appear from behind and things. And that's a really good tip as well if you're doing these kind of things in a client's home, is kind of what have they got? Have they got a kind of an oversized shirt or something like that? And you can emphasize the bump coming out again and things. So if you don't like the black bra, then obviously we could use the likes of red tulle here, netting to kind of cover the boobs. And by doing that, then obviously it's kind of disguising the nipple as well. So it gives a more kind of harmonious image overall compared to the last image with the black bra. The black bra by itself stands out because it's obviously in the different contrast range, whereas here now the red of the actual tulle kind of starts to blend itself in and it starts to look really, really great and things. So where possible though, if you're using a big source of light, like a big softbox, try and actually cover half of the softbox up to create yourselves a bit of a strip box. This should create a little bit more of narrowing of the light. That's the light that's going to hit the subject. And if you can get that as close to your background and point it back towards the camera position, you're going to get this lovely modeling effect on the actual face and on the bump, giving us great shadow. You can even start to see the kind of the pushing of the body within the actual bump itself and things. This front hand, though, is a really good way to disguise knickers, pants, whatever you call them. And it's a good way to actually disguise that. It kind of almost gives that implied nudity as well with it and things. So going to the American Beauty style, this kind of petal drop in, we do a bit of digital retouching to actually add more petals on. But this is the first shot. So now we've still got the black lingerie on, wrapping her in the kind of the black tulle as well. And she's laying on our red flower wall with a black background behind. And all we do then is basically throw some of the actual petals down on, so we get a natural kind of series of petals going through. But what I would do is kind of create yourself a bit of a digital kind of composition of those petals, if you're photographing this quite a lot, to kind of drop them on top as well. However, I would always encourage you to do the kind of the petal throw in live, because it's great fun, especially if you brought a partner in as well, or even other kids. You can kind of really get some great images, and it's more the interactive. But if we shoot the non-red petal first, it means that we can use the overlay to get the exact position of our petals no matter what. But always do a shot with the actual petals. So then just a little bit of a flatter light now. So we're kind of shooting from above, the flat lay kind of position. And the lighting is just allowed to kind of light the body and the face just that little bit more. And I like to do eyes closed, eyes open as well. And then this is the camera just rotated now, or the image rotated to make it look like she's basically stood against a wall. So we can get this kind of shaping of the black tulle kind of going up the red flower wall. As you can see, I either need to invest into some more red flower wall for the top corner, the corner bottom left here, or just actually using the likes of Photoshop's generative fill to actually kind of fix that anyway. But don't be afraid to kind of play around with the lighting in this shape and things. I tend to obviously light the belly more than I do actually the face for these kind of images. I want the drama to actually look straight onto the kind of the bump and things. Just play around with the hand positions and so on. I've got to be honest, looking at this image now, I really didn't realize that she's got a flat hand. I usually like the hand turned to the side. So if we look at the bottom hand that we have here, the lovely shape across the bump, this one's flat, and kind of flat is fat, as it were. So it's kind of a big lump of flesh and it's going to dominate the shot. So if we can turn it to the side, then it's going to minimize itself as well. Add some vignetting in, or use a spotlight as well, and you'll dramatically change that image. Then, because it was the workshop, I decided to kind of bring out the little kind of swim pool and basically fill it up with some nice some lukewarm water. If you're doing this in the client's home and they've got a bath there, most clients have, then do it in the bath because there's a lot less work and things. What I did do though is actually bring some fresh flowers to the shoot as well, and just placing them within the image. I quite like it with the kind of the robe, the sheer robe being used. Kind of just molds itself to the body and gives a little bit of disguise to the nipple as well with it. So we can kind of really flow with it. But then it's just kind of running through it. You can see these shots now are being shot with daylight. In fact, you can see it's coming from the windows of the old studio church. And that's the kind of the flat lay where we can really kind of select around the blue now and stretch out that image. You're using the likes of Photoshop AI to actually fix those things. But for me, you know, the great thing about using flash or daylight is when we've got the opportunity to use a harder light source than just a softer light source all the time. The beginning of the shoot, we saw all the lovely soft light from soft boxes and so on. For me, though, the kind of the edgier light, the more hard sudden light, as we're seeing here, or things through a barn doors or kind of a spotlight, bring more drama to the scene straight away with it. Don't forget, when we're shooting in this kind of environment as well, the client's going to get quite tired very quickly because it's a long shoot. Underneath the head, in fact, you can't see it, but I've got a bit of a support, and she's then using her hand to actually kind of rest it as well, because I didn't want the head fully submerged. So just by having that little bit of support for her, then it allows me to shoot for a little bit longer. In fact, there's two great images there. You can see the difference now in the lighting, where the sunlight just changes that little bit from here to here and gives us more drama as well. And of course, when you're doing these shots, don't forget to kind of dance around the subject when you've got the opportunity, photographing from near the feet, from the head, from the two sides. It's a little bit kind of difficult for the client to kind of move from side to side. So if you are going to get them kind of pointing towards the right, so you've got flatness of the light on the face, then do that series of images first, and so on and so on. But you really want to keep the submerging of the light to a minimum. So I hope you enjoyed that little glimpse behind the scenes of some images shot on a workshop that I did, looking at maternity and looking at how we can create some great images with some very, very special clients. See you in the next one. Good luck.